Hello, my name is Arnav Anand,
Hi, I'm Nischal.
Hi, and I'm Anirudh.
and this is our project on legal judgment prediction.
So, we'll take a brief overview of the topics we shall be presenting today. Firstly, we will talk about what is legal judgment prediction. Next, we'll explore the aim of our project. We'll also explore the data sets we have chosen, the cleaning, and the data exploration. And finally, we'll talk about the models and the results.
So, what is legal judgment prediction? Legal judgment prediction involves using machine learning or natural language processing techniques to analyze legal texts such as court cases, statutes, and legal opinions in order to predict the outcomes or decisions that might be made in similar future cases. The goal is to assist legal professionals by automating or augmenting the process of legal research and decision making.
So there are multiple challenges with legal judgment prediction. The data that we get publicly from these courts could be biased or limited, and usually AI does not consider feelings that are subjective to human lawyers or judges, and usually legal data is very messy and complex and requires a lot of context to be usable, and judges may not be consistent with their decisions across time periods or across countries, and there are more factors influencing decisions other than just the facts of the case.
So coming to the data set, we decided to choose a diverse set of data sets as to better compare the different models. Firstly, we have the United States Supreme Court model data set called Justice. Next, we have the Indian Legal Data Corpus, which has a number of Indian cases. And finally, we have the European Courts of Human Rights data set, which has a compilation of cases that were heard in the European Court of Human Rights. So coming to the first data set, as you can see, there are a number of arbitrary values that aren't really important for this kind of NLP analysis. So we clean the data set and finally zero it down to a few columns. We'll be looking at the case ID, the name of the defendants and we'll be looking at the facts of the case and finally predicting whether the first party won or not. Coming to the next data set, we have the ECHR data set where similarly we'll be predicting whether there has been a violation or not, and lastly we'll be looking at the ILDC data set where we'll be looking to predict if any violation has occurred or not.
So, for the data cleaning and pre-processing step, what we did was we used some of the most widely used methods in NLP, which are stemming, lemmatization, stop word removal, punctuation, and number removal.
So when we explored the data, we found a good distribution of the words in their frequencies. So in this CODIS data set, you can see that there is the most commonly used words as court, district, and appeals. And if you look at the other data sets, like the example of ECHR data set, you can see that there are similar words, but there are more nuanced words also that you can see distributed among the training data and the testing data. So with ILDC, you can see a similar split, showing that there is a good diversity in the data set. And among the data sets itself, we can see that there is a good differentiation in the words that are that the facts contain. And this is a good way of indicating that our data sets itself are diverse.
So coming to the models that we have chosen, just to again go with a diverse picking, we have chosen two primitive models and one relatively more complex model. Two primitive models would be naive Bayes and k-nearest classification. So the naive Bayes uses a bag of word model to classify the data. The k-nearest neighbors will use some kind of similarity matching like TF-IDF, and lastly the artificial neural network will also use TF-IDF for similarity matching.
So the naive Bayes used a vectorizer for unigram and bigram separately and provided a classification report with the accuracy with the SCOTUS data being 63.44%, which is marginally better than the bigram model. Whereas in the ECHR data set, you can see that there's a 71.51% accuracy, which is again better than the unigram model. And with the ILDC data set, you can see that the bigram model marginally performs better than the unigram model, and this is a best fit for that data set.
For the k-nearest neighbors, if we look at the first ones for SCOTUS, with just 5 neighbors, we got an accuracy of 63.44%. And for the European data set with 5 neighbors, again, we got an accuracy of 65.84%. And in the Indian data set with 3 neighbors, we got an accuracy of 60%.
So lastly, coming to the artificial neural network, we can see that in the SCOTUS dataset, on the training data, the model achieved an accuracy of 99%, but with the testing data, the model seems to have achieved an accuracy of 58%. This means that the model was slightly overfit. Coming to the ECHR data, we see that the model achieved a training accuracy of close to 91%, but the testing accuracy was close to 63%. Lastly, with the ILDC dataset, since our dataset is so vast, we have to develop a more efficient version of the algorithm to truly make a reasonable comparison between these models. Lastly, Arnav will sum up the results.
So now we can see that for specific data sets, specific models work better, and with the ECHR dataset, our naive Bayes bag of words model works the best, whereas with the Indian legal corpus, so far we found that the KNN works best. And lastly, with the SCOTUS dataset, we can see that the naive Bayes classifier marginally loses out to the KNN classifier, and that is our comparison of the models. Thank you so much.